They say the morgue is the quietest place in any hospital, but no one tells you about the way silence can turn heavy, pressing down until you feel invisible even when you're right in the middle of it all. You know what I mean? That was my life day after day at Halcyon Medical Centera Place, so pristine, so relentlessly polished, it felt like even the air was scrubbed clean of human feeling. My name's Naomi Moore, and for years I was the invisible one, the tech who did her job, kept her head down, who never gave anyone a reason to complain, because when you're the only black woman on staff, you learn early being good is never quite good enough. But the thing about being invisible is you see things. I saw a lot, and I kept a lot to myself. But the day they brought in Clarissa Whitmore, everything changed. You don't forget a name like Theta Billionaire's wife, the kind of woman whose face you see on magazine covers, always perfect, always just out of reach. Her death sent shockwaves through the hospital, 2 black SUVs, a trail of suits, and whispers that died the second I walked in the room. Her body didn't look right, not to me. The paperwork said heart attack. The time of death was written down, the whole process rolling on as if this was just another day. But when I pulled back the sheet, I saw her face wasn't sunken, her skin still held a flush, and her lips, they looked freshly glossed, not dried out, not faded. That's not what death looks like. I pressed my gloved fingers to her arm her skin had give, not that slack emptiness you get after hours in the cold. Her muscles held a faint tension. I whispered to Carl, the assistant working with me, "Something's off." He rolled his eyes. "You're spooked, Naomi. She's dead. Let it go." But I couldn't. My gut screamed at me, louder than any protocol or order ever had. It was too early for the autopsy, but the quiet in the morgue felt loaded, like something waiting to burst. I did something I never thought I'd do. I slapped her cheek, gentle but sharp, just enough to provoke a response if there was any life left. For a second, nothing happened. Then her eyelids fluttered. Her chest rose. She gasped, a sound ragged and desperate, but undeniably alive. Let me back up a sec, because in that moment, my world split in two, the one where I was just another invisible tech, and the one where I was about to be accused of assault, of madness, of stepping out of line. Carl burst back in, saw what was happening, and the next thing I knew, the room filled with doctors, security, chaos. Clarissa Whitmore, the billionaire's wife, was alive. And I was the one who'd saved her. Or so you'd think. Gregory Whitmore, her husband, stormed in, demanding to know who'd touched his wife, fury in his eyes. "You put your hands on her? Are you out of your mind?" I tried to explain, but no one listened. To him, I was a problem to be contained, not a savior. He didn't want to hear about instincts or what I'd seen. He wanted someone to blame. Someone like me. After the chaos faded, I was left behind in the morgue, trembling, ice cold, already feeling the weight of suspicion. No one said thank you. No one asked how I knew. It was as if I'd broken some unspoken rule by refusing to stay silent. And the message was clear: my job was to do as I was told, not to trust what I felt. Later, summoned to a conference room full of administrators, HR, and legal, I was asked to explain myself, to justify the slap that saved a life. "What were you hoping to accomplish?" the legal officer asked, not even bothering to look up from his notes. "I thought she might be alive." "I had to try," I said. The room fell silent. The hospital needed time, they said. I was placed on administrative leave, not punishment, just procedure. But we both knew what it meant. Stay quiet. Let us control the story. That night, back in my apartment, the world kept spinning. News anchors mentioned Clarissa Whitmore's miraculous recovery, with no word of how it happened. No mention of me. Just a bland statement about an internal investigation. I was a ghost again, erased from a narrative, except for a handful of quiet messages from nurses, people who saw, who believed, who understood what it meant to speak up in a world that prefers silence. But the truth, like water, has a way of seeping through cracks. A detective named Roman Volosian showed up at my door. He wasn't there to accuse, just to listen. He handed me a folder, thick with evidence, chemical traces in Clarissa's blood, medical logs, a timeline that didn't add up. "Someone wanted her to look dead," he said, his voice low. "This wasn't an accident, and you might be the only one who saw it before it was too late." Meanwhile, at the Whitmore estate, Clarissa began to remember a chill of the morgue, the sting of a slap, my voice. She asked for me, insisted on speaking to the detective. When she was finally allowed to talk, she told the truth. Her marriage was a cage, her plan to disappear orchestrated with the help of a man she trusted, only to be betrayed, left for dead, her husband guarding the door, more concerned with his reputation than her life. When the truth broke, it shattered everything. Headlines exploded. Socialite awakens after apparent death. Black technician uncovers elite fraud. At first, the hospital scrambled to bury the details, the administrators spinning their story, but then anonymous sources leaked emails, whistleblowers came forward. My name began to circulate not as a villain, but as a hero, at least for some. Gregory Whitmore tried to control the narrative, holding a press conference where he blamed everyone but himself, painting his wife as a victim of manipulation, me as a threat, but the story had already slipped out of his grasp. Clarissa released her own statement. She named me, told the world I'd saved her life, said everything changed because I saw what others didn't want to see. The investigation snowballed. Reporters unearthed financial schemes. Ex-employees told stories of intimidation and control. And slowly, the picture came into focus, not just a medical error, but a system that valued power over people, silence over truth. I was reinstated with an apology, offered a new role as head patient advocate, but the real victory was quieter. The hospital began to change. We created new protocols, mandatory trainings, a culture that finally asked, what if we listen? Instead of who do we blame? Clarissa and I stayed in touch, two women thrown together by fate, bound by one impossible moment. She launched a foundation for women escaping abusive relationships, speaking under a new name, no longer an ornament in a glass case, but a force for good, unafraid to use her own story. I stayed mostly out of the spotlight. My work was in the details, helping a patient get a translator, checking on a nurse who felt unseen, standing in rooms that had once made me feel invisible, and knowing now I wasn't alone. 6 months after that morning in the morgue, everything felt different. Not perfect, but better. The letters I got from nurses, students, strangers reminded me that even the smallest act of courage ripples out in ways you never expect. And every so often, I'd return to that cold, silent room, place my hand on the table, and remember the slap that started it all, not violence, but hope, a refusal to give in to the easy answer. You know, life doesn't always hand you closure, and justice is rarely clean. But sometimes it's enough to know you spoke up, that you acted when it counted, that you reached across the silence and chose to believe in life over protocol, in truth over fear. So, what do you think? Was I right to do what I did? Was it luck, instinct, or something bigger? Let me know in the comments below. Share your thoughts about justice, courage, or the moments you felt unseen. Because sometimes the only thing standing between silence and truth is one person willing to speak up. If this story moved you, don't forget to share it. Someone out there might need to hear it right now.